Hey everybody, it's Tony. I'm Tony Huerta from Take Six. I'm the front of house engineer for Take Six. And also, I was the front of house engineer for Georgia on My Mind, which is Take Six with a gospel choir and a big band, and Kirk Whalum and Nina Freelon and Clint Holmes here at the Venetian. And I'm packing up here today, packing up all the Take Six gear onto the next show. So it's kind of this is a bittersweet moment here. I'm here by myself all day long in the theater that I worked in for the last 5 weeks. It's a very emotional day. And just kind of reflecting on how I got here. And a few people in the Take Six side, and especially on Facebook, have been asking me how I got to work with them and how I got to where I am today. And it's surprising to me that I'm here. So anyway, I started off, I guess if you want to point it back, it probably started when I fell in love with a cappella music. I was in high school, college. I started groups in high school and college, and then I started singing with the 17th Avenue All-Stars, which is a professional group out of Denver. And we toured, we did a lot of gigs, and we started recording. And instead of spending 25 grand in a studio, I thought, cool, I would like to do that. So we went out and bought $20,000 worth of recording gear, and I taught myself how to use it. Finished that first CD with 17th Avenue All-Stars, and learned a lot. And other people started to hear my mixes and started to like what I was doing with acapella, and they started hiring me to mix their acapella stuff. So there we go. Then those same clients started hiring me to do their live sound, which I only knew live sound from being on stage and knowing what I wanted to hear and being really bummed and really uneasy on stage when I knew the front of house wasn't sounding right. So I knew I had a passion for it at that point. And I ended up mixing a high school all-state jazz concert. And I was there for 2 days. And Mark Kibble, the guys came and did a concert in Colorado Springs. And I almost missed the concert because of a snowstorm. I only saw the last song. But I did work with Mark the next 2 days. And did sound on this rinky-dinky little high school auditorium sound system. And it was with a jazz combo and 16 microphones. And Mark and I were talking while we were eating pizza the second day. And he's like, hey, so what do you do? And I was like, oh, I have a recording studio in Denver, and I sing in an a cappella group, and my studio primarily focuses on a cappella music. And he's like, huh. And he goes, did you go to school for music? And it's like, yeah, I went to the University of Northern Colorado as a jazz performance major. And he's like, wow, you should come on the road with us someday. Sounds like you'd be a good fit. And I was like, sure, I'd love to do that. But being a huge Take Six fan, I was like, there is no way, there's no way. Well, like 3 weeks later, the management called me and sent me some airline tickets for me to get my passport. And the airline tickets were first class tickets to Ecuador. Now, Mark and the guys, they had never heard me mix a real show before that time, so it was a big chance on Mark's part and a big chance on my part to actually take the gig because I didn't know how to use one of these. I didn't know how to use a large mixer. All I'd used was a little Mackie 1604 or something like that. But they took a chance on me, and for about 2 weeks before I went on that trip, I downloaded every owner's manual of every piece of gear on their rider, and I learned it based on reading the owner's manuals. I have to admit, I didn't know what a DCA was. If you don't know what a DCA is, then you're probably not a sound guy. And some sound guys don't even know what that is. But I was green. I didn't know anything. But I knew what I wanted to hear, and I knew how Take Six should sound, and that's what I went for. So during that first show in Ecuador was mind-boggling. It just boggled my mind that I was actually in that place at that time and doing something that I'd never really done before. But I knew what I wanted to hear, and the show turned out great, and the guys liked it, and Chris Palmer, their manager, was sitting there with me at the board. And I just remember him telling me afterwards in his Nashville accent, he's like, "Man, I've never seen anybody have so much fun mixing a show." So I really think Chris was there in case I sucked, and he could jump in. But that's that's really how I got started with Take Six. And ever since then, I've taken upon myself to learn every mixer, every digital and analog console that I could possibly run into. And I learned a lot of those while mixing Take Six and while walking into the venue a couple hours before they showed up, and learning how to program it and learning how to get what I wanted out of it. So there you go, self-taught in the studio, self-taught on sound, but all it takes is passion and love for what you do, and the time and energy that you put into it can turn it into a career. So don't ever stop, and don't ever have anybody tell you that you can't do it. So there you go. There's my quick Reader's Digest version of how Tony got started with Take Six. Take it easy.